Good afternoon, everyone. This is Brennan Decima, owner of Decima Wealth Consulting. A really popular question from clients over the last couple weeks is around Roth conversions. I have a lot of clients at seminars and clients that we work with saying, what about Roth conversions? Am I eligible to convert? How much can I convert? How much should I convert? And I think that's a really important question in any financial plan. So, a Roth is a tax-free bucket, and there's a lot of value besides just it growing tax-free, right? Tax-free is better than taxable, tax-free is better than tax deferred, but it's not an easy decision on how much to get into the bucket. So, a few key components of Roth. One, it's not subject to mandatory required distribution, so it can grow longer and it grows tax free, which is great. It provides a bucket for a spouse that they can lean on tax free. It goes to the heirs tax free. So, really powerful if you get it right. Now, that doesn't mean it makes sense for everyone. If the cost of a Roth costs more taxes than the benefit of the tax free growth, well, you're doing yourself harm. So, a couple common misconceptions about Roths. A Roth conversion can be done at any age. There is no age limit. You can convert whenever you want, right? There's no income limits to Roth conversions. You can be in the top tax bracket. You can still convert. I don't know why you would, but you could. You could still convert to a Roth. And there's no dollar limits to the amount you convert. So this is a big difference between Roth conversions and Roth contributions. So a Roth contribution, there's income limits and there's contribution limits. Roth conversion, there is no income limit, there is no conversion amount limit. Now, every dollar you convert is going to be added to ordinary income. So you convert $1 million, the IRS is going to think you're $1 million earner. You may be defeating the purpose of that tax-free bucket because you paid a heck of a lot more taxes to get it in there. So when we work with clients, we always do a very detailed financial plan, and that financial plan starts with a very thorough review of last year's tax form, and then we model in how this year will look in comparison to see what levers that we can pull. So first thing that we look at is before we make any changes in a non-retirement account with capital gains or we do any Roth conversions, we look at the impact of adding or reducing income and what that does for the client. So this is a particular client whose baseline taxable income estimate this year is $141,914. Now, a really easy thing to look at is they can convert 66,000 before their next change in effective taxes. So very simply put, you can convert 66,000, you're not changing your effective tax bracket, right? But that doesn't tell us the whole story. This client is over the age of 65, and the first thing to be aware of is they're on Medicare, so they pay premiums for Medicare. So this line here shows us that if they add 28,000 in income, their Medicare premiums will increase by $1,052. So just something to be aware of. Doesn't mean that you don't convert, but not only are there going to be additional taxes owed, but there's going to be additional Medicare premiums owed. They then have net investment income tax, and that really kicks in around the 66,000. But let's say they go above 66,000 because they're still in the 22% bracket, right? Hey, let's max out the 22% bracket. Well, even though they're still in the 22% bracket, if they convert 81,000, they now see that their Medicare premiums increase by $2,643 a year. So we're looking at almost a 26% federal tax to do that conversion. Now, again, client may want to get a whole lot of money in the tax-free bucket. So we can show them at various levels what it does for Medicare, and then we can show them the top of the line. So in this particular scenario, they can go an extra $277,000 in income before we start to have a jump into that 32% bracket. So we also look at that for capital gains. We can see where Taking profits starts to make it more costly for net investment income, where we start to see Medicare IRMA increases. So I think the key here is before you do a Roth conversion, I think it's really helpful to map out all of the income that you're going to have: dividends, interest, Social Security, pensions, withdrawals from retirement accounts. And then look at where that puts you from a Medicare IRMA standpoint. Look at where that puts you from a bracket standpoint. And then add your Roth conversion proposal to see, hey, does that bump you into the next Medicare threshold? Or does that bump you into the next effective bracket? And that can really help you make an informed decision. Now, if that's something that you just want to rely on software for, we have that software. We're happy to do a detailed analysis for anyone looking for some more complex planning. But I think it's the takeaway here is don't just convert without knowing the ramifications. You want to make sure that you're not paying any more in taxes that could have been avoided by converting $1,000 less or $5,000 less. And now you're paying a bunch of extra Medicare taxes or net investment income taxes because you weren't aware of where the thresholds were. If this is helpful, hit subscribe. And if you need additional support, message us. My email is brennan@decimawealth.com. Have a great day.